The school bus rattled down the road, packed with chatter, laughter, and the occasional shout. For most kids, it was just another ordinary ride home. But for Alina, the new girl, every second on that bus felt like a battlefield. She sat quietly near the middle, clutching her backpack like a shield, praying no one would notice her. But prayers often fall silent when cruelty is louder. 3 boys, Sammy, Danish, and Irfan, had already spotted her days ago. They were the self-proclaimed kings of the bus, always sitting at the back, always looking for someone weaker to target. Alina, with her shy nature and unfamiliar face, was the perfect prey. That afternoon, as the bus sped down the bumpy road, they rose from their seats, closing in on her. "Hey, new girl," Sammy sneered, leaning over her shoulder. "Why do you always sit alone? Too good for us." Danish grabbed her bag, yanking it from her hands. "What's in here?" "Oh, probably nothing, just like you." Irfan blocked the aisle, his smirk spreading wide. "Were you gonna run now?" The bus grew quiet. Kids pretended not to notice, some whispering, others turning their heads away. No one wanted to get involved, because everyone knew what it felt like to become the next target. Alina's throat tightened. She wanted to scream, but the words froze. She wanted to fight, but her hands shook. She was trapped, cornered against the window while the boys' laughter filled the bus. But then, something unexpected happened. A single voice cut through the noise. "Leave her alone." The bus hushed. Everyone turned. It wasn't a teacher. It wasn't the driver. It was another boy, Rahim. Rahim wasn't popular. He wasn't the toughest kid, nor the loudest. In fact, he was often overlooked, quiet, average, the kind of boy who blended into the background. But in that moment, his voice carried more weight than anyone else's. Sammy spun around, glaring. "And what if we don't?" Rahim stood up from his seat, his hands clenched but his voice steady. "Then you'll have to go through me." The other kids held their breath. No one had ever stood up to the trio before. Rahim's heart pounded, his knees felt weak, but something inside him refused to sit still while someone else was suffering. The boys laughed. "You." Danish scoffed. "You think you can stop us?" Rahim didn't move. His eyes locked on theirs, not with anger but with unshakable resolve. "She hasn't done anything to you. Bullying doesn't make you strong, it just makes you cowards." A ripple spread through the bus. For the first time, kids who had always stayed silent looked up with hope. The 3 bullies weren't used to being challenged, and for a split second, their confidence cracked. But Sammy wasn't ready to back down. He stepped closer, towering over Rahim. "You're gonna regret this." Rahim swallowed hard. Fear burned inside him, but he didn't step back. "Maybe I will. But at least I won't regret being silent." The bus driver finally caught sight of the commotion in the old yellow school bus groaned as it rolled down the narrow road, carrying dozens of kids home after a long day. For most students, this ride was routine, half an hour of chatter, laughter, music leaking through cheap earbuds. But for one girl, every minute was heavy with dread. Alina, the new transfer student, sat near the middle row, pressed against the window as if she could disappear into it. Her grip on her backpack was so tight that her knuckles turned white. She wasn't used to this school, this bus, or the eyes that seemed to follow her every move. For 2 weeks, she had tried to stay invisible. But bullies don't need permission to find their target, they only need silence. At the back of the bus sat 3 boys, Sammy, Danish, and Irfan. Everyone knew them. They were the kings of this small kingdom on wheels. Loud, arrogant, and feared. They ruled not with kindness but with cruelty. They had already stolen snacks, shoved kids out of seats, and spread rumors that made weaker students cry. Now, their eyes were fixed on Alina. "Hey, new girl." Sammy called out, his voice sharp enough to cut through the buzz of conversation. Heads turned, but most kids quickly looked away. Everyone knew what was coming, but no one wanted to get dragged into it. Danish smirked as he slid down the aisle, grabbing Alina's backpack. "What's this? Homework? Snacks? Or maybe a diary full of secrets?" He yanked it out of her hands with ease. "Give it back," Alina whispered, her voice barely audible. Irfan blocked the aisle with his broad frame. "Say it louder," he mocked. "We can't hear you." Her throat tightened, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. She didn't want to cry, not here, not in front of them, not in front of everyone. But fear doesn't ask for permission. It choked her voice, trapped her breath, froze her body. She was cornered, and they knew it. The bus went silent. A few kids glanced over, then quickly turned back to their phones or windows. Others whispered nervously. No one dared to interfere. It was easier to stay invisible, to pray that the storm would pass without catching them in it. That's when it happened. A voice rang out, calm but firm. "Leave her alone." Every head turned. The bullies froze, shocked that someone dared to speak. Standing a few rows back was Rahim. Rahim wasn't strong. He wasn't popular. He wasn't one of the kids people expected to stand up. In fact, most people barely noticed him. He was quiet, ordinary, always keeping to himself. But at that moment, he stood taller than anyone else on that bus. Sammy laughed harshly. "You talking to us?" Rahim didn't flinch. "Yes." "Put her bag down." Danish scoffed. "And if we don't? You think you can fight all three of us?" Rahim swallowed. His hands were trembling, but he curled them into fists to hide it. "Maybe I can't. But that doesn't make you right. Picking on her doesn't make you strong, it makes you cowards." The bus fell silent again. Kids who had once looked away now